Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the Mafex Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, Armored Batman and Superman. These are based off of the cover of Batman, The Dark Knight Falls. The Dark Knight Falls was one of 4 issues that compose of Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. These figures are mostly all black. On the cover, they're pitted up against each other. These figures are an homage to that cover. In addition to that, these were a Medicom exclusive, meaning you only get them from overseas retailers, and they didn't ship to the US. Medicom's actual site had these guys for a very fair price, but the shipping was outrageous. It was like $125. It didn't make any sense. And the other websites were either sold out or didn't ship to the US. I waited. Now they're on eBay for still a little too much, but a fair price. I was able to talk somebody down and get a pair. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see, Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, DC, Armored Batman, Mafex Medicom toys, The Dark Knight Falls. Here he is in the package. He's got alternate hands, head, and then the sword. One side of the package, Batman, The Dark Knight Returns. Other side, this is the 193rd figure in the Mafex line. On the back, here's Batman, different various poses, different accessories. And the bottom, much credits, and here's his barcode in case that helps anybody. Then we have Superman, similar packaging, Dark Knight Returns, Mafex. He's got a bunch of extra hands and a head. Dark Knight Returns. This is figure 189 in the Mafex line. Here's the back side. And here is his barcode. So no further ado, let's open them up. And I did end up getting 2 sets of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, and the other set to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. Alright, now that we get these figures out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. Batman comes with 6 alternate hands, totaling 8 interchangeable hands, 2 heads, a sword, and a display stand. And then Superman, he has a total of 8 interchangeable hands, 2 heads, and also a display stand. These figures are paint variations. They're pretty much all in black, although you can see the red and yellow on Superman, as well as the white on Batman's eyes. They're not really necessary figures, unless you're like me and you're completist and you want every single variation of Batman that you can get your hands on. These guys are based off a cover variant in The Dark Knight Returns, The Dark Knight Falls. In this video, we're going to take a look at each of the figures individually. We'll check out their accessories, height, and articulation, and then we'll compare them with a bunch of other relevant action figures. So, let's start off with the man, Batman. And before we go any further, here's an example of the cover that they are based off of. You can see the 2 characters pretty much all in black, very stylized. So here's a look at Batman. He has a total of 8 hands, 2 heads, a sword, and a display stand. So let's take a look. This is Batman in his armored suit, and this is the second version that Mafex has made. This is pretty much an all-black version. Mafex made a more traditional version in the past, and we will check them out next to each other in this video. His eyes are white. He's got sort of mechanical looking suit. Big, stylized, exaggerated torso. Looks like Mafex's unique style of double jointed elbows and double jointed knees. He's got the gauntlet fins on his forearm and on his shins. Cleated boots, just like in the comic. Overall, it looks pretty good, although I much prefer the color version. This is still pretty nice to have to the collection. His cape is kind of pleated. You can get very long. It's got a wire in the side here. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. The way the light's shining on it, it almost looks like his mouth is open, but it's not. His lips are shut. And here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories. And let's start off with the display stand. Now let's look at his flight stand. There are 7 different pieces. You need 3 of them to utilize the basic functions. When you put the flight stand together, it looks like this. It's got a large transparent base, 3 different peg holes to attach the post. Then when you get the post in there, you can rotate at the bottom, hinged at the bottom, hinge in the middle, hinge at the top, rotation at the top, and has this clamp to hold your figure in place. Now let's check out his accessories. And let's start off with his hands. Now let's check out his hands. He has a total of 8 of them, 4 left hands and 4 right hands. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. And here he is with his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands that'll hold the sword. And here's his third pair of hands. This is a pair of open hands. These will look good, relaxed at his sides. Some normal default hands. And here's his final pair of hands. These are some open hands. I could see them being some grabbing or throwing hands for Superman. Now let's look at his heads. He has 2 of them. One with a normal expression, one with an angry expression. Here's his first head. This one has the more normal expression. And here's his second head. This one has the angry expression. And here's his sword. To my knowledge, Batman never actually used the sword or knife in the comic. It was simply from the cover. Kind of makes me think of something one of the mutants would have. That handle there. I don't know, it just seems very familiar to me. And here's Batman holding that sword. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's staying at about 6.6 inches tall, which can translate to just under 17 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 6.75 inches tall. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, it can rotate from side to side. He can go up and down about that much. Can tilt his head, it's on a ball joint, pretty good range of motion. Shoulders goes out about 90 degrees. Shoulder pads obstructed, but not too much. Ball joint, up, down, around, all that good stuff. It does have the sort of drop down shoulders. You can see they kind of go back up. Butterfly joint behind here. Pretty impressive one. Comes out of the back like that. He's got bicep cut below that. You can see the shoulder pad does kind of get out of your way. Double jointed elbows, but they only go in 90 degrees. His wrists kind of rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Torso, he's got a ball joint underneath. The bulky armor rotate around, forward and back. Another one is waist, rotate around, forward and back. They're really close to each other. Put together, gives them pretty good range of motion, especially considering how large this one piece is. Legs, complete as the splits. Ball joints, drop down hips. Kind of push them back up in there. You go forward, about all the way. Back, not very much. Double jointed knees, but they really get a tiny bit more than 90-degree bend. Then his ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Now let's check him out. Next to some other Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. Here he is, next to Mattel's DC Multiverse version of the Dark Knight Falls Batman. Now let's check him out. Next to some other Mafex figures. Here he is with the standard color version of the armored Batman from the Dark Knight Returns. Exact same sculpt. Here's the Dark Knight Falls Batman, next to Mafex's first Dark Knight Returns Batman. This is the black and gray version with no oval. Then, next to Mafex's second Dark Knight Returns Batman, this is based off the Dark Knight Triumphant cover. And now, next to their third Dark Knight Returns Batman, this is from the 2-pack with Robin. Here are all 5 of Mafex's The Dark Knight Returns Batman figures. There is a 6th one coming out in the future, and that's going to be a black and gray Batman with the yellow oval on top of a horse. Here's this new Batman, next to all 3 of the Mattel DC Multiverse Batman figures from the Dark Knight Returns with the armor. We have the Dark Knight Falls version, the standard color version, and then I got another one of those, and I put the Old Man Bruce Wayne head that came with the Dark Knight Returns Flash. They're nice, but not as nice as the Mafex versions. That's for sure. Then, with both versions of Mattel's Batman from the Dark Knight Returns, using both the black and gray outfit and the blue and gray outfit. And now, next to all 4 variations of the Mezco 112 Collective Dark Knight Returns Batman figures, there are 2 other variations, but they are extremely rare, and unfortunately, I don't have them, even though I really would love one. Then, next to 4 different variations of DC Direct's Batman from the Dark Knight Returns, there's actually a 5th one that I don't have. All of these ones have real subtle differences. The 5th one is from a 2-pack and has the leg holster. Would also love to track one of those down one day. And I'm really surprised that neither DC Direct nor Mezco made the armored Batman. And DC Direct also made this Dark Knight Returns Batman from Batman the Animated Series, the new Batman Adventures, and now with all three variations of McFarlane's DC Multiverse Armored Batman from The Dark Knight Returns, and here with McFarlane's Standard Batman from The Dark Knight Returns. And here are all the different 6 and 7 inch Armored Batman figures from The Dark Knight Returns that I have. I have a total of 8 different ones. Now let's look at the Superman figure. Large, big, bulky, stylized Superman. Huge torso. He has a total of 8 hands and 2 heads. He also has the same display stand that Batman came with, but we already checked that out, so no reason to check it out again. So let's take a look at him. He's got that large, exaggerated curl. Superman logo on this big chest. Looks good. Yellow belt. Colors really pop on those because the fact that the rest of the figure is in black. Looks like double jointed elbows, similar to Batman. Double jointed knees. Cape looks pretty nice. It's also pleated. I really don't want to miss that right now. It looks very good. Has the same kind of wire in it. Overall, a good, in some ways kind of bland figure, but the color really sort of offsets the black. And a closer look at his face and head sculpt. Sculpt fine. Paint job, very bland. Look at that curl, so exaggerated. Dark Knight's Return style. And here's this Superman, broken down as far as he can go with all of his removal parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories, starting off with his hands. He has a total of 8 hands, 4 right hands, 4 left hands. Here he is, with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Then, with his next pair of hands, these are a pair of flight hands. Every single Superman figure out there should come with a pair of fists and a pair of flight hands. Totally have Superman flying above the sky of Metropolis. And then his next pair of hands. These are some normal looking hands. They would look good relaxed at the sides. Some default regular hands. And here's his final pair of hands. These are a pair of sort of extended hands. I could see him lifting something or throwing something with these hands. Now let's look at his heads. He has a total of 2 of them. One has a normal expression and the exaggerated curl, and the other one looks to be an angry expression. I believe that's actually the head where he got hurt. It has some acid splash on his face from Batman, but you can't really tell in the all-black version. Here's Superman with his first head. This one has the more normal expression. And here's his second head. Looks like he's angry, but I believe he's actually hurt from Batman. Now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 6.4 inches tall, which can translate to about 16 centimeters. Now for his articulation. Starting with his head, of course, you can rotate from side to side. Look up about that much, down about that far. Pretty impressive there. Ball joint, tilt his head from one side to the other. Shoulders, also on a ball joint, goes a little bit more than 90 degrees. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area. Increase the range of motion a little bit there. He's got a bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows. His wrist can rotate and is hinged. Ball joint his torso. Another one is waist. Very similar to Batman. Legs don't quite do the splits, but not too far off. Ball joints. Looks like he's got a little bit of drop down hips. Rotation's pretty good. They go forward about that far. Back not too much. Double jointed knees. And his ankle. Forward and back. Rotate. Tilt rock. And to articulation. And now let's check him out. Next to his other Superman Dark Knight Returns figures. Here he is with Mattel's DC Multiverse Dark Knight Falls Superman. Both pretty cool figures. Mafex wins. Then, next to the regular Mafex colored version of Superman. Then, next to both of the Mattel Dark Knight Returns Superman figures. And now, next to a couple of DC Direct Superman Dark Knight Returns figures. Here are all of my 6 and 7 inch Superman figures from Batman The Dark Knight Returns. Here's an image of Superman taking out Batman. They're all in black. This is a reenactment of the cover of The Dark Knight Falls. And here are the 2 of them in the junkyard with the bat tank behind them. Batman's got some backup. It's off with Batman taunting Superman, trying to lure him out with a bat signal. Superman is gliding down as he prepares to confront Batman. Put a stop to him. Batman gets right in his face, challenging him in every way possible. Batman kicks things off by hitting Superman with his sonic gun. Batman is determined to take down Superman. He throws everything he's got at him. In comes the Bat Tank driving down the streets of Gotham. Superman throws around the Bat Tank as if it was completely weightless. He rips off the cockpit, exposing Robin, and he simply asks her, "Isn't this a school night, young lady?" Now Batman reaches back and takes energy from a nearby light pole. He needs some extra power to hurt Superman. Here's the energy running through the city, through Batman's armored suit, onto Superman. At this point, Batman seems to have the upper hand. Here he is, stomping in Superman's face with his cleated boots. And now, Superman has had enough. No more Mr. Nice Guy. He gets up and rips off Batman's armored mask. Now, Batman sprays acid from his gauntlet, sprays it all over Superman's face, hurting and pissing off Superman. Batman now throws a grenade towards Superman. He knows it's really not going to do much. It's only really meant as a distraction. It was only meant to serve as a distraction, while a one-armed Oliver Queen gets to fire his kryptonite arrow towards Superman. Oliver Queen points his bow, uses his teeth to pull the strings back, and fires that kryptonite arrow that Batman provided for him, finally getting the revenge he's been trying to get on Superman all these years. And of course, Superman, having super reflexes and super hearing, is able to catch the arrow before it hits him. He thinks he's preventing things, but it's exactly what they expected. Kryptonite dust bursts out of the arrow, affecting Superman. And as Batman has the upper hand and is beating Superman senseless, he says to him, "I wanted to remind you to stay out of my way. In all the years to come, in all your most private moments, I want you to remember the one man who beat you." As Batman has essentially won the fight, he then has a heart attack, collapses onto the ground. Superman seems surprised, unsure, and sort of guilty. Now let's check them out. Next to some other action figures. Here are these two Mafex Dark Knight Falls figures, next to Mattel's DC Multiverse versions. And here they are, next to these standard paint jobs of the Armored Batman and Dark Knight Returns Superman. Here's the entire Mafex Batman The Dark Knight Returns collection. We've got Batman, Robin, Superman, and the Joker. The next figure they're going to release is going to be Batman with the Horse. And I'm really surprised they haven't given us a mutant leader yet. Here's the Dark Knight Falls, Batman and Superman, in front of my custom Bat Tank. This thing is amazing, although a little bit fragile, and you can actually put the figures into the cockpit. Now let's check them out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how they fit in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix them with. Since they're Mafex figures, they're typically the 6-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of these smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my way larger. But first, let's check them out with some of their Mafex brothers, and I'm going to include as many Superman and Batman figures as I can during these comparisons. Here they are, next to some other Mafex Batman and Superman figures. Then, next to some more Mafex figures, and now, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Here they are, next to my cell phone. You can see why I don't do live streams. And here they are, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Batman and Superman figures. And here they are, next to some Mezco 112 Collective Batman and Superman figures. And now, with some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And here they are, standing with some NECA Batman and Superman figures. Then, with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Batman and Superman figures. And here they are, next to some McFarlane DC Multiverse Batman and Superman figures. Then, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. And finally, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. So overall, there's some excellent figures. Mafex does a great job with their comic figures. The entire Dark Knight Returns collection is impressive, but they're not really necessary. The all-black cover variants. Yes, I'm a completist and I'll get every single variation of Batman that Mafex makes, and I'm happy to add them to the collection. but they don't bring me nearly as much joy as the colored versions. Articulation, good, maybe a little bit limited on some of the double jointed things that don't achieve what you'd expect. Accessories are cool, although it's mostly just a bunch of hands. Sculpt, excellent. Paint job, pretty bland. If I had to rate these guys, probably going to give them a 6 out of 10. Like I said, they're just not really necessary. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.